So how did I get a professional coach who at one point in time told me that I should quit football to only a couple of years later completely change his mindset when it came to me and be praising me? Well, in this video, I'm going to give you this story to kind of tell you what I did to kind of flip this and get his opinion of me to change, and what you should do when someone doubts your ability or tells you to quit. This video is sponsored by Rocket Sports, where you can get 15% off of their line of soccer products by clicking on the link down below. Rocket Sports sells a variety of soccer goals of all sizes and for all ages, along with other training equipment like rebounders to help you improve your game. They are not only great for team training, but for your own individual training as well. I personally use their products during my own training sessions, and I love them. Click on the link down below to check them out for yourself. Let's get into the video. So this is going to be kind of like a story time video where I want to tell you about my experience I had with a coach and why you really should never give up regardless of who's telling it to you, and what can happen when you don't give up. So my sophomore year, I was about 15 years old, and one of the things that happened to me between my freshman and sophomore year of high school is I went through a growth spurt. I went from about 5 feet tall to 5 foot 10 inches in a matter of months, and this did a lot to my body. I kept sustaining knee injuries and had a lot of joint pain, and I was getting used to my new body, and I was very uncoordinated. So fast forward to the summer after my sophomore year of high school, we were at a camp, a soccer camp, and our whole high school team was being coached by this former professional player. This guy played in a World Cup in 1986. He actually played against Maradona. He was on the pitch for Belgium against Maradona. Argentina won that game 2-0, but he was actually on the pitch in the actual tournament. So this was a really good player, a guy who played at the top level and had international caps at a World Cup. So basically, to break it down simply, I had a terrible camp. I did not play well. I was injured for a lot of it, with a lot of pains in my knees and ligaments and joints, like I'm saying, because of my growth spurts. I was very slow, uncoordinated, and I just wasn't doing well at all, getting used to my new body, essentially. And at one point in time during the camp, I was on the bench. The coach was not playing me that much, and he actually said to me at one point in time that I should quit football and try another sport. Now, when I initially heard these words, it obviously hurt a lot because I was obsessed with football. Football was my whole life, and this was the first time really ever in my life I'd experienced playing this poorly, or being on the bench, or just really not being able to have an influence on the match. And then with all of that kind of piling up, to have a guy who I looked up to and respected because he played at a professional level, he played in a World Cup, to tell you that you should just give up and quit and play a different sport, to have him say that was heartbreaking, and really could have honestly led to me actually quitting. But thank God in the end I did not quit. I was still obsessed with football, and if anything, this lit a fire under my ass and really motivated me to prove this guy wrong, World Cup player or not. And so what I did over the last couple of years is used that fuel, that doubt, even from someone who played at that level, to improve my game even more. And so over the next 2 years, from about 15 to 17 years old, I worked on my game hard. I joined a club team and made a club team that was playing at state tournaments and was state ranked, playing against nationally ranked teams. I started gaining interest from different colleges, and I kept remembering what this guy said to me, that I should quit football, that I'm not good enough. And I grew into my body, so I became about 6'2", 6'3", but I stopped growing and learned how to actually function in this new body I had. I got my coordination, my speed back, and this is what happened. The college where I went to this camp, and this guy coached at for the camp, this college was run by a guy who used to play professionally, so we had all these professional contacts, including this coach who told me that I should give up. I went back that summer, but this time I didn't go back as this awkward, gangly, uncoordinated player. I went back as a recruit. I went back as a player that this college had recruited and wanted to play for their team the next year when I was going off to college. So that in itself is a big jump, going from this player that was told pretty much to give up to the college recruiting me. Now, the coach who actually coached the team wasn't the guy who told me to quit. Not at all. This, again, was one of his friends, someone he knew. But the funniest thing happened that year when I went back for my final year at this camp. I got the same coach again. This is 2 years later, that had told me 2 years prior that I should quit. Now, I actually looked different. He didn't recognize me at first. I had obviously grown a bit more. I'd come more into my body. I wasn't as uncoordinated, and I was a really, really good player. In fact, I was one of the best performers at the camp this time. I wasn't having a bad camp at all. And, you know, it wasn't until probably towards the end of camp that he actually recognized who I was. And I'll never forget this moment. We were playing a game, and it was halftime, and we were either 1-0 down or it was 1-1, because at the camp every single night they would do this World Cup thing where you'd play 11v11 against another group of the camp that was being coached by someone else. So he brought in the huddle and he was telling us what to do, and at one moment he said, "And when you can, get the ball to Dave and let him do his magic." The contrast from a coach that was at one point in time telling me to quit to 2 years later telling the team to get the ball as often as they could to me so I could do my magic was an incredible feeling. And the feeling didn't necessarily come from the praise of this guy who used to be a pro and played in the World Cup. It came from me actually proving a doubter wrong and bringing him onto my side, whether he recognized me at first or not. Now, the point of this is not to brag. The point of this is to basically convince you and motivate you not to give up. The opinions of other people can change, but in the first place, you cannot care about the opinions of others. You know, not many of you are going to have a player who played in the World Cup telling you to quit. I mean, that is some, you know, really just demotivating shit. But even though this guy who'd been there, done that, been involved in the professional game was telling me to give up, even though that guy was doing that, I decided not to. And I decided instead to work harder and improve my game even more. To get the praise from him 2 years later was just a bonus. But just to know, it doesn't matter who is doubting you. It doesn't matter if it's a high-level coach or player like that, or if it's just some random dude on the internet, someone in a YouTube comment, or some random player you play with, or whatever. Don't give up if it's what you want to do. Don't give up if you are passionate about it, if you love it. You may have bad games, you may have bad camps like I did, where I just played really horribly for basically 4 or 5 days straight. You may have bad years, but don't give up if this is actually what you love doing. I am obsessed about football. I always have been obsessed about football. So even though that really, really hurt me when I was 15, when that coach told me that, and it really hurt because it was really coming from someone of authority, someone who had been there and done that. Even though that really stung, I knew I was obsessed with football. I knew I loved it, and I didn't give up. If I'd given up, you know, my life would be completely different. It would be. My life would be drastically different. And I'm really glad I didn't give up. And I tell you about how he praised me 2 years later because it really gives you a very clear idea of how things can change in a very short amount of time. Where this player, who again once told me to quit, was praising me, and not just praising me a little about, oh, you're like the most improved player. You know, he was telling the team to give me the ball. He was, you know, giving me extra attention when I was at the camp. You know, he talked to me after the camp and gave me advice and, you know, told me about how good I was and all this stuff. And I say that to you because that would have never happened if I gave up. That progress would have never happened. You know, none of this would have happened. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today probably if I had given up on something I loved just because of what someone said, regardless of what position that person was in or, you know, what level that person played at. Essentially, guys, you're going to have haters as you pursue this journey of football. Whether you want to play at the pro level, the college level, or just want to become a better player, you're going to get haters from everywhere. You're going to get haters from teammates. You're going to get haters from opponents, from random people on the internet, since that's a big thing now. And even if you get a hater from someone who played at a World Cup as I did, Don't give up if this is what you want to do. If you want to become the best player you can be. You know, it would have been very easy for me to give up, but don't give up. Hopefully you can take something away from this. And I am so grateful that I did not take this guy's advice and quit. And instead, I was able to actually impress him a couple years later by completely putting all my effort into becoming a better player. All right, guys, so hopefully that's been valuable to you in some way. If you like this kind of video where I tell you a little bit of a story or a lesson from my life when I was younger, let me know and I'll do a few more about it, about some of my experiences as a player when I was younger. And again, just the message is don't give up. If it's what you want, you know, it doesn't matter who tells you it. I mean, freaking Pele could be on your doorstep and telling you to quit. I don't care who it is. If it's what you want to do, no one has the right, regardless of who it is, to tell you to quit or to tell you to stop. I mean, it's up to, they can have their opinion, but they cannot actually make you stop if you want to keep going. So keep that in mind. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got something out of this, and let me know if you want more. See you guys in the next video.